learners! This is Teacher Kimberly and welcome to my channel. Halina't makinig at matuto ng mga pamamaraan at konsepto sa mathematics sa aking tutorial video. At kung bago ka pa lang sa channel ko, huwag kalimutang mag-like, share at subscribe. Pindutin din ang notification bell button para maging updated ka sa mga susunod kong video. Hello, grade 8 students! We are now in the first quarter and week 1 of our school year 2022 to 2023. And our topic for today's tutorial is all about factoring completely different types of polynomials. Learning objectives. In this lesson, you are expected to factors completely different types of polynomials like polynomials with common monomial factor, difference of two squares, sum and difference of two cubes, perfect square trinomials, and general trinomials. Let us have first the unlocking of terms. First is the greatest common factor. When we say greatest common factor of two or more numbers, it is the greatest number among all the common factors of the given numbers. Next is prime numbers. A prime number is a factor that is a prime number. Halimbawa po ng prime number ay 2, 3, 5, 7, and so on. Next is monomial. When we say monomial, it is an algebraic expression consisting of one term. From the word mono, it means one. So ito yung algebraic expression na meron lamang iisang term. And when we say polynomial, these are algebraic expressions that consist of variables and coefficients. Factoring polynomials. Factoring is the process of finding factors of an expression, which is the reverse process of multiplication. Ang factoring po ay yung paraan kung saan hinahanap ang mga factors ng isang expression or numbers. At ito naman ay kabaliktaran ng multiplication. Halimbawa, ang 6 ay merong factors na 1 and 6. Bakit po? Kasi when we multiply 1 to 6, the result is 6. Another factor of 6 ay 2 and 3. Kasi if we multiply 2 by 3, the result is still 6. And 1 and 6 and 2 and 3 ay ang tinatawag nating factors. And when we say polynomial, it is an algebraic expression consisting of a sum of terms, each of which is a number, a variable, or a product of a numbers and variable. For example, 2x squared plus 5x minus 12. In this example, ang tinutukoy po dito na product of a numbers and a variable is 2x squared and 5x. Kasi nga, combination siya ng numerical coefficient and the literal coefficient. So dito, sa ating example, 2 and 5 is the so-called numerical coefficient, yung number na katabi ng variable. And x naman ang tinatawag nating literal coefficient. Ito yung variable na katabi naman ng number or the numerical coefficient. And 2 in the upper right corner of x ay ang tinatawag nating exponent, yung degree. And negative 12 is the so-called constant term or the number. We have 4 kinds of polynomials. First is monomial. When we say monomial, it is an algebraic expression consisting of a single term. From the word mono, it means one. So, meron siyang iisang term lang. For example, x squared, 2x, and 5a. Next is binomial. Binomial is an algebraic expression consisting of two terms. For example, x squared plus 5 and 2x minus 8. Next kind of polynomial is trinomial. Trinomial is an algebraic expression consisting of 3 terms. From the word tri, it means 3. So, it has 3 terms. For example, x squared plus 5x plus 6. And the last kind of polynomial is multinomial. It is an algebraic expression consisting of many terms. So dito sa multinomial, it has many terms. Hindi lang siya tatlong terms, kundi marami pa. For example, x cubed plus x squared minus x plus 2. What is greatest common monomial factor? The greatest common monomial factor, or GCMF, of two or more monomials is the product of the GCF of the numerical coefficient and the common variable factors. It also refers to the common factor having the greatest numerical factor and with variables having the least degree. Ang GCMF po ay ang product ng GCF ng ating numerical coefficients and the common variable factors. Ito din po ay merong variables na may pinakamababang degree o yung exponent. For example, factor 4m squared n plus 10m. Solution. In step 1, we need to find the greatest common factor of the numerical coefficient. Ang ating numerical coefficients dito ay 4 and 10. Ang factors ni 4 ay 1, 2, and 4. At ang 10 naman, ang kanyang factors ay 1, 2, 5, and 10. Now, let us look for their common factors. We have 1 and 2. And since ang kailangan natin ay ang GCF or yung greatest common factor, ang gagamitin nating GCF ay 2. So, the GCF of 4 and 10 is 2. Step 2, find the common variable with the least exponent that appears in each term of the polynomial. So, dito sa ating example, our first term is 4m squared n and the second term is 10m. So, hanapin natin yung parehong variable na nandoon sa ating first term at second term. And the common variable is m. Pero yung common variable dito na tinutukoy ay yung may pinakamababang exponent. So, the common variable with the least exponent is m. Step 3, the product of the GCF in step 1 and step 2 is the GCMF of the polynomial. Ibig sabihin po, ang ating GCF na 2 ay imomultiply natin doon sa ating common variable with the least exponent which is m. So, 2 times m is equal to 2m and that is our GCMF. Step 4, to completely factor the given polynomial, divide the polynomial by its GCMF and the resulting quotient is the other factor. So, i-divide po natin dito yung given polynomial by the GCMF which is 2. So, 4m squared n over 2m plus 10m over 2m. Let's divide. 4m squared n divided by 2m is equal to 2mn. And 10m divided by 2m is equal to 5. So, the other factor or the resulting quotient is 2mn plus 5. Thus, the factored form of 4m squared n plus 10m is 2m times the quantity of 2mn plus 5, wherein 2m is the GCMF or the greatest common monomial factor, and 2mn plus 5 is the quotient of polynomial and GCMF. Another example, factor 12xy squared minus 16x squared y plus 24x cubed y cubed. So, ang ating solution for the step 1, we need to find the greatest common factor of the numerical coefficient. So, dito sa ating given na polynomial expressions, ang ating numerical coefficients ay 12, 16, and 24. Ang 12, meron siyang factors na 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. And 16 naman, ang kanyang factors ay 1, 2, 4, 8, 16. At ang 24, merong factors din na 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 12, and 24. Ngayon, hanapin natin ang kanilang mga common factors. Meron tayong 1, 2, and 4. At dahil ang hinahanap natin ay ang GCF o yung pinakamataas na common factor, the GCF of 12, 16, and 24 is 4. In step 2, find the common variable with the least exponent that appears in each term of the polynomial. So, hanapin daw natin yung common na variable na merong pinakamababang exponent. So, the common variable with the least exponent is xy. Step 3, the product of the GCF in step 1 and step 2 is the GCMF of the polynomial. So ngayon naman, imomultiply natin ang ating GCF na 4 doon sa ating common variable that has the least exponent, which is xy. So 4 times xy is equal to 4xy, and that will be our GCMF. And step 4, to completely factor the given polynomial, we will divide the polynomial by the GCMF, which is 4xy. And the resulting quotient is the other factor of the polynomial. So, 12x squared y minus 16x squared y plus 24x cubed y cubed divided by 4xy. The answer is 3y minus 4x plus 6x squared y squared. And that is the other factor of the polynomial. Thus, the factored form of 12xy squared minus 16x squared y plus 24x cubed y cubed is 4xy times the quantity of 3y minus 4x plus 6x squared y squared, wherein 4xy is the GCMF or the greatest common monomial factor, and 3y minus 4x plus 6x squared y squared is the quotient of polynomial and the GCMF. At para ma-check natin kung tama nga ang ating factors ng ating given polynomial expression, i-apply natin dito ang distributive property. Dito ay imomultiply natin ang GCMF doon sa resulting quotient. So, 4xy times the quantity of 3y minus 4x plus 6x squared y squared. So, imomultiply muna natin yung GCMF na 4xy sa ating first term doon sa resulting quotient natin, which is 3y. Yung first term is the 3y. So, 4xy times 3y is equal to 12xy squared. And then, i-multiply ulit ang ating GCMF na 4xy sa second term. So, 4xy times negative 4x, it results to negative 16x squared y. Kasi unlike sign, kaya negative yung sign. Then, i-multiply na naman natin ang GCMF natin na 4xy doon sa ating last term ng resulting quotient, which is 6x squared y squared. So, 4xy times 6x squared y squared equals to positive 24x cubed y cubed. And the result is correct. Now, let us proceed to factoring of polynomials using the difference of two squares. When we say difference of two squares, these are binomial where the first and second terms are perfect squares. The two terms are separated by the signs. And when we say perfect square, it is a number whose square root is a whole number. So, katulad po ng 16, isa siyang perfect square kasi ang kanyang square root is whole number, which is 4. The special product pertaining to the sum and difference of two squares is the reverse relation of difference of two squares. Thus, the quantity of x plus y multiplied to the quantity of x minus y is equal to the quantity of x squared minus y squared. Hence, the quantity of x squared minus y squared is equal to the quantity of x plus y multiplied to the quantity of x minus y, wherein the quantity of x squared minus y squared is the so-called difference of two squares, and the first factor, which is x plus y, is the sum of two terms, and the second factor, which is x minus y, is the difference of two terms. Here are the steps in factoring the difference of two squares. Step 1. Get the principal square root of each of the two squares. Step 2. Using the principal square roots, form two factors, one a sum and the other a difference. Now, let us have an example. D raised to 4 minus 81. So, in order to factor the polynomial using the difference of 2 square, first, we need to get the principal square root of D raised to 4 and 81. So, the square root of D raised to 4 is equal to D squared, and the square root of 81 is equal to 9. Next step is, we need to form two factors, one a sum and the other a difference. So, the quantity of D squared plus 9 times the quantity of D squared minus 9. And the polynomial expression D raised to 4 minus 81 has the factors of the quantity of D squared plus 9 times the quantity of D squared minus 9. But we still need to factor D squared minus 9 since it still shows difference of two squares. Therefore, the polynomial D raised to 4 minus 81 is equal to the quantity of D squared plus 9 times the quantity of D plus 3 times the quantity of D minus 3. Yan ang kanyang factors. Let us have another example. 4x squared minus 36y squared. Ang ating unang gagawin ay kukunin ang principal square root ni 4x squared at 36y squared. So, the square root of 4x squared is equal to 2x. And the square root of 36y squared is equal to 6y. Then, ang susunod natin gagawin ay magpo-form tayo ng dalawang factors. Ang isa ay sum of two terms and ang isa naman ay the difference of two terms. Gagamitin natin dito yung ating square root na 2x and 6y. So, we have the factors of the quantity of 2x plus 6y and the quantity of 2x minus 6y. Therefore, the polynomial 4x squared minus 36y squared has the factors of the quantity 2x plus 6y times the quantity of 2x minus 6y. Next is factoring sum or difference of two cubes. Difference of two cubes is a difference of two terms which are both perfect cubes. And when we say sum of two cubes, it is a sum of two terms which are both perfect cubes. And perfect cube means it is a number whose cube root is a whole number. So ito yung number na merong cube root at dapat ito ay whole number. Halimbawa ng number na perfect cube is 8. Ang kanyang cube root ay 2 kasi nga 2 times 2 is equal to 4 and 4 times 2 is equal to 8. Yan ang ibig sabihin ng perfect cube. These are the steps in factoring sum or difference of two cubes. Step 1. Get the cube root of each cube. Step 2. Taking the operation between the cubes, obtain a binomial factor using the cube roots in Step 1. Step 3. Form the second trinomial factor as follows. A. Square the first cube root. B. Take the negative product of the cube root. And C. Square the second cube root. Let us have an example. Factor y raised to 3 minus 8. So, ang una natin gagawin ay kukunin ang cube root ni y raised to 3 and 8. And the cube root of y raised to 3 is equal to y. Since y times y equals y squared times y equals y cubed. At ang cube root naman ni 8 ay equal to 2. Since 2 times 2 equals 4 and 4 times 2 is equal to 8. Then, the second step is take the operation between y cubed and 8 to obtain the binomial factor using the cube roots. Okay, ngayon naman, gagamitin natin yung operation na ginamit doon sa ating polynomial na y cubed minus 8. And ang ating mapo-form na binomial factor ay y minus 2. Si y ay yung cube root ni y cube and si 2 naman ay ang cube root ni 8. Step 3. Form the second trinomial factor by letter A, squaring the first cube root. Ang ating pinakaunang cube root na y ay i-square natin or i-multiply by itself. So y raised to 2 is equal to y squared. And letter B, take the negative product of the cube root. Yung ating dalawang cube root na 2 and y ay i-multiply natin and kukunin natin ang kanyang negative product. So 2 times y is equal to 2y multiplied to negative. The result is negative 2y. And letter C, square the second cube root. Ang pangalawa namang nating cube root na 2 ay i-square natin or i-multiply sa kanyang sarili. So 2 raised to 2 is equal to 4. Therefore, y raised to 3 minus 8 is equal to the quantity of y plus 2 times the quantity of y raised to 2 minus 2y plus 4. Kung saan, ang y raised to 3 minus 8 is the sum of 2 cubes. And the quantity of y plus 2 is the binomial factor. And the quantity of y squared minus 2y plus 4 is the trinomial factor. Next is factoring perfect square trinomial. When we say perfect square trinomial, it is a trinomial that is a square of a binomial. It is the result of squaring a binomial. And trinomial is an algebraic expression with 3 terms from the word tri, meaning tatlo. So it has 3 terms. And the square root of a number is a value that when multiplied by itself, it gives the number. Thus, if a squared plus 2ab plus b squared is equal to the quantity of a plus b squared, hence, a squared minus 2ab plus b squared is equal to the quantity of a minus b squared. Perfect square trinomial is the result of squaring a binomial. But note that in order to be a perfect square trinomial, it must have the following conditions. First, the first and the last terms are perfect square. Pag sinabi mong perfect square, these are the numbers whose square roots are whole number. Katulad ng 4. Meron siyang square root na 2. So, ang 4 ay perfect square siya. The second condition is, the middle term is twice the product of the square root of the first and the last terms. So, yung middle term daw dito ay dapat 2 times the product of the square root and the first term and last term. These are the steps in factoring perfect square trinomials. Step 1. Get the square roots of the first and last term. Step 2. Use the sign of the middle term between the roots. Step 3. Square the binomial obtained in Step 2. Let us have an example. Factor n squared plus 16n plus 64. Ang una nating gagawin ay kukunin ang square root ng first term na n squared at ang last term na 64. So, the square root of n squared is equal to n, since n times n is equal to n squared. And the square root of 64 is equal to 8, since 8 times 8 is equal to 64. Next step is use the plus sign, since it is the sign of the middle term 16n. So dito, sa pangalawang step, kung ano yung sign na ginamit sa middle term, yun din ang susundin natin para makapag-form tayo ng ating binomial factor. And ang ating binomial na nabuo ay n plus 8. So, si n ay yung square root ni n squared at ang 8 naman dito ay yung square root ni 64. Step 3, square the binomial n plus 8. Kaya siya magiging the quantity of n plus 8 raised to 2. Therefore, n squared plus 16n plus 64 is equal to the quantity of n plus 8 squared. Let us have another example. Factor m squared minus 14m plus 49. So ang ating gagawin, una-una ay kukunin ang square root ng first term at saka last term. Dito sa ating example, ang ating first term ay m squared at ang last term naman ay 49. So, the square root of m squared is equal to m since m times m is equal to m squared. And the square root of 49 is equal to 7 since 7 times 7 is equal to 49. Step 2, use minus sign since it is the sign of the middle term 14m. So, dito, makakabuo tayo ng binomial na m minus 7. So, saan ang galing si m? Ito yung square root ni m squared. At si 7 naman ay ang square root ni 49. At ang minus sign, ito yung sign na ginamit doon sa ating middle term na 14m. Step 3, square the binomial m minus 7. Kaya siya magiging the quantity of m minus 7 raised to 2. Therefore, m squared minus 14m plus 49 is equal to the quantity of m minus 7 raised to 2. Next is factoring general trinomials. I-define muna natin ang mga mahalagang terms na related sa general trinomials. Una ay constant term. Ang constant term is a number which is definite in value. Ang constant term po ay yung number lang, wala po siyang kasamang variable. Letter B, linear term. It is a term in the first degree. So, bakit siya sinabing first degree? Kasi po, ang kanyang exponent dito ay 1. And C, quadratic term. It is a term in the second degree. Ito naman po yung term na merong exponent na 2. And letter D, quadratic trinomial in one variable, is a polynomial in one variable with the form of ax squared plus bx plus c. Ang quadratic trinomial in one variable naman ay isa siyang polynomial kung saan gumagamit lamang siya ng iisang variable, katulad ni x, kaya si y, ganyan. At saka ay nakasunod sa form na ax squared plus bx plus c. Meaning, meron siyang order mula sa quadratic term, linear term, at saka constant term. Katulad ng sa ax squared plus bx plus c, ang ax squared natin dito ay ang tinatawag nating first term or the so-called quadratic term kasi siya ay nasa second degree. Meron siyang exponent na 2. And bx is the second term or the linear term. And c naman ay ang third term natin o yung tinatawag nating constant term kasi ito ay number lang. These are the steps in factoring general trinomial in the form ax squared plus bx plus c when a is equal to 1. Step 1. List all factors whose products equals the first term and the constant term. Step 2. Get the pair of factors in the list whose sum equals the coefficient of the linear term. Step 3. Write the binomial factors in the form the quantity x plus r times the quantity of x plus s. Remember some important points in factoring the general trinomial. First, if b and c are both positive, then the factors must be positive. If c is positive and b is negative, then the factors must be negative. And if c is negative, then the factors must have opposite sign. Let us have an example. Factor m squared plus 7m plus 12. So, ang una nating gagawin, we need to list all the factors whose products equals the first term and the constant term. So, a is equal to 1, b equals 7, c equals 12. Saan ang galing si a? Si a ay ang first term natin which is m squared. And the numerical coefficient of m is 1. Kaya a is equal to 1. And b is the second term which is the 7m. And the numerical coefficient of 7m is 7. That is why b is equal to 7. And c is the constant term which is 12. Since b and c are both positive, we must consider the pair of positive factors of 12. Ang factors ni 12 ay una, 1 times 12. Another is 2 and 6 kasi nga 2 times 6 equals 12. And 3 and 4. 3 times 4 equals 12. Ngayon naman, kukunin natin ang sum ng bawat factors. Ang ating unang factors ay 1 and 12 at ang kanyang sum ay 13. Ang pangalawa nating factors ay 2 and 6 and ang kanyang sum ay 8. Ang pangatlo nating factor ay 3 and 4 at ang kanya namang sum ay 7. Step 2, get the factors of 12 whose sum is 7. So dito naman, kukunin natin ang factors ni 12 kung saan kung i-add natin sila, the result is 7. Kaya ang sagot natin dito ay 3 and 4. And step 3, write the binomial factors in the form x plus the quantity of x plus r times the quantity of x plus s. So gamit yung factors ni 12 na ang sum ay 7, makaka-form tayo ng binomial factors. So, the quantity of m plus 3 times the quantity of m plus 4. Yan ang ating binomial factors. In symbol naman, m squared is equal to m times m. And si 12 naman, kung kukunin ang kanyang factors, meron siyang factors na 1 and 12, 2 times 6, and 3 times 4. At kung kukunin natin ang factors ni 12 na merong sum na 7, ito yung 3 and 4. Kasi i-add lang natin 3 plus 4 is equal to 7. And that 7 is the numerical coefficient of the middle term dito sa ating given na trinomial. So therefore, m squared plus 7m plus 12 is equal to the quantity of m plus 3 times the quantity of m plus 4. That's all for today's tutorial. I hope you enjoy and learned from my lesson today. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and also hit the notification bell button so that you'll get updated for my next video. Thank you for watching!